Today's episode is going to have some trigger warnings. We're going to be talking about pet death, euthanasia, behavioral disorders, and a variety of sensitive topics that might not be comfortable for everyone.
If you're in a place where you can't listen to that kind of thing, skip it. I'm Jen.
And I'm Jen.
And this is
wait. Do you see that?
Is that an elephant in the room with us right now?
Behavior euthanasia. Today's
elephant is for. Today's elephant is about.
Today's episode. The elephant is in the room with us right now. Behavioral youths.
This is for any pet professional that deals with animals that might have lost a patient to behavior euthanasia, might come across owners that need support with behavior euthanasia. You might be a shelter worker who is trying to cope with behavioral euthanasia of your pets in the shelter or pets in the community. Mm-hmm. Thinking about how to think about it.
Mental health is health. Not only is food and water vital to everyday survival for your dog, ensuring they have opportunities for positive social interactions, freedom of choice, freedom from fear and pain is the key to a good quality of life for dogs. If we can't meet all of those needs, something has to give.
Quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
So, obviously, behavior euthanasia has a lot of stigma around it. It's also worth mentioning that some people don't agree with behavior euthanasia, but also some people don't believe in calling it behavior euthanasia. They just believe that it should just be called euthanasia, just like any other euthanasia, which I can agree with both sides of that. Mm-hmm. And I think some people need it to be differently labeled so that they can feel validated in the extreme duress that can come from it.
Yeah.
But also other people need it to feel the same as a euthanasia for an illness that you can see on blood work or on the pet's body, because they need to know that it is the same as a mental illness is the same as a physical illness anywhere else in the body.
Yeah. And it's one of the hardest things that a pet parent can decide to do.
Absolutely.
Your brain's going to tell you need to do more. There could be better days. It was a one-off. But your heart knows their quality of life is not great and it's not changing. For me personally, I've never had an owner reach the decision to behaviorally euthanize frivolously. And furthermore, it doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah.
That person has come to this decision based on their own life experience, their time caring for the pet with the behavioral challenges. I don't live in their house. I don't live with their dog. I don't know their day-to-day. We have to trust that person that they're making a well-informed decision for their family and for their pet. And I struggle, furthermore, with the idea, because part of me wants to say, unless you're able to take that pet in that moment, don't bring up rehoming it. But then I don't even know if you should say that, because I think that's problematic too, because maybe you could try to give that pet a better home, but maybe they're just not going to have quality of life
anywhere.
Right.
chances are the issues that are happening in that household will transfer to another household in some way. And something that someone said to me one time is, I wish that Kahlua could just go live on a farm.
Yeah.
And that still didn't feel good
Mm-hmm.
because she wouldn't like living on a farm.
Yeah.
And Clerk wouldn't have liked living with someone else more than me, even if they were home all the time.
Yeah.
It was me that he was attached to. So people know that they can rehome pets. They obtained their pet somehow, and they know that they can rehome their pets. You don't have to suggest it. You can ask them if they've tried, and that should come with a lot of tact and perhaps some explanation on why you're asking that.
And I think a friend of mine once said there are two types of thought around dog behavior problems. One school of thought is that the handler is responsible for everything that goes on with the dog. And if the dog is having trouble, it's the handler's lack of support, training, know-how, knowledge, skill issue, whatever you want to call it, that is driving that behavior problem. And then the other school of thought recognizes that dogs are individuals that sometimes have factors outside of a handler's control.
They're not blank slates.
That aren't blank slates. They might have poorly coded genetics. They could have poor life experiences. They could have abnormal brain chemistry. There's a lot of things that can happen that have no weight on the handler, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a graphic by Rescued by Training that has the 5 ways that dogs acquire fear. And by and large, most of those 5 have nothing to do with a handler.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with you, the owner of the dog, as it is. So I think that like when people are extra judgy and say, well, I just would have, can't you just, I think they're forgetting the large underlying components of what causes or drives these behavior issues in the first place.
Right. And clients aren't showing up saying, I would like to euthanize my 2-year-old dog because they want you to give them training advice.
Correct.
Or because they want some information about how their dog could have less separation anxiety. If they were in the moment of pursuing those questions, they would be asking those questions. And I think it's hard because when we're thinking about a veterinarian as our animal professional in the scenario, they have to be able to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you that no one is coming off the street to ask you to kill their dog because they are just tired of their dog.
Right.
That just doesn't happen because the owner also has to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that not everyone is going to be able to have the capacity at all times, but I cannot get behind people not trying to do the inner work to get there because this is the most at-risk client population.
Yeah.
Because they are making the hardest decision they've ever had to make and hopefully will ever have to make. They have been living a difficult life.
And often a secret life.
A secret life. They have been isolated. They have usually been through the ringer with their own support community around them, whether that's their neighbors, their family, their friends, their other household members. It's almost like being in an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And when those people reach out and say, I need help, we need to be able to help them if we can.
Yeah. We can't be another judgment on their path to figuring out what they're going to do.
Yeah, because that person's mental health also matters.
Right. And it's not like these people are going to work and telling their coworkers about what's going on with their dog and the eggshells they have to walk on to make sure that everyone's quality of life is just so.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't have a lot of places to share. Like, we find that because there is a support group for our patients specifically that have behavior issues.
Mm-hmm.
There's a support group that comes along with that because it's a hard thing. You get this dog, you want to have a dog that can do things with you, can do, you know, activities with you.
You're
can
looking
pet.
for companionship.
Right. And then when you come across these dogs that have these behavior issues, that rug is wrenched right out from underneath you. And now you're stuck because everybody is going to say, don't give up. Why don't you just? Right?
Have you tried?
Right. And then, you know, the hard part is, like, what people don't understand is that management always fails, right?
Yep.
If you have a multi-dog household, let's say, and you keep gates and doors closed. You know, a friend of mine lived like that, and her policy was 2 doors closed between the dogs at all times, because if one of the doors didn't latch, one of the doors didn't close, she did not have a fight on her hands.
Yeah, that was my policy also.
And that is a daunting way to live.
Yeah, because when you're inside the house, there usually aren't 2 doors between things.
Right.
The front door is usually one of those doors.
And luckily, at this time in her life, she lived alone, didn't have kids, was in school, so had the, like, space to be the person that set the rules and did the rules, right? She didn't have other people who could have forgotten.
Yeah.
Who could have, you know,
she didn't have to rely on anyone else, but also
she didn't have to rely on anybody.
She only had to rely on herself.
She couldn't rely on anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Like, so she didn't have to, but she couldn't. And so, you know, I think about that when we're dealing with multi-dog homes or people who are working through serious, and some are dangerous and some are very sad behavior issues, because behavioral euthanasia isn't just because your dog's aggressive.
Right.
It can be for a number of reasons.
Separation-related anxiety, self-mutilation, over-grooming, neuropathic, compulsive, noise phobia, panic from noises.
Yeah.
Living in Florida and having a storm phobia.
Yeah.
Where in the summer it's storming.
It's just oops, all storms.
Every day, every 15 minutes. Agoraphobia or global fear. Chronic pain. Dogs that become aggressive because they're painful. Inappropriate elimination. Really any situation where the quality of life of anyone involved is impacted and not improving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just dogs. Obviously, cats. Yeah. I had a cat that was behavior euthanized. Horses, rabbits, rats, chickens, roosters for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of species that this happens in, and we don't always call it behavior euthanasia, but it doesn't make it any easier.
No. And I think, like, even in, like, the livestock world, there's a little bit of a mechanism to cope a little bit better. Like, aggressive roosters go to freezer camp.
Yep.
Like, I think there's, like, a built-in coping mechanism that we don't have for pet dogs, because everyone's, like, idealized version of a dog is a friendly, happy companion that loves to snuggle you.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the dream dog is the version of like, well, it's a used car that an old lady only drove to church on Sundays. You know, like it's like that idealized, like this is what I'm getting. And then that's not exactly what shows up.
Yeah. And there's so much grief associated with that because you were not expecting to have to change your whole life around, change everything about your routine, sometimes change who lives in your household, what you do on the day-to-day, people you can have over, times you can leave the house.
Yeah.
There's so many factors and there's so much grief involved that also encouraging anyone that is encountering behavior euthanasia at all to seek professional help for that grief is super important.
Yeah. With my behavior youth that I had to go through, I was like fortunate in a way because there was a medical component too.
Yeah.
So to the people that weren't safe to tell, well, he had disc disease and he had an obstruction in his stomach, right? To the people who weren't safe to say his aggression was increasing because he was in pain, right?
Yeah.
To people who weren't safe to say like, oh, you know, we have this dangerous dog and now it's getting worse because he's painful. Like I had those other things to fall back on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if it were just his stomach, I probably would have had to think a little bit harder. Like, do we go in and remove that obstruction or do we go through with this? And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it made me think about those moments of kindness that we can provide for people, even if we don't like necessarily think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's a little like tangential, but when I was 21, I lost my mom. And we were...
Did you ever find her? Did you ever find her?
Well, we did locate her. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And she is still there forever.
She had passed.
She passed right into the cemetery. So when we were doing a clean out of the house, because she was mentally unwell, we had to rehome a lot of the pets that she had. And we were able to find homes on our own for many of them. But I think there were 2 cats that I had to surrender because the house was inhospitable to them, basically. And with the, dog that I was keeping, it was just like, it wasn't going to work out. And I took every pet supply item to the shelter that I could to donate because that seemed like a great idea at the time. I gave them money to surrender these 2 cats. And when I surrendered them, I probably looked like a mess. I mean, my mother had just died.
Yeah.
And my hair was greasy. I do remember that. And I was wearing like a dirty tank top because I was doing this big clean out of this house. And the woman at the desk said to me, "Here are their A numbers. If you don't really want to know what happens, don't ever call." And I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I was a kid that lost my mom suddenly.
Yeah.
And then had to deal with my childhood pets being rehomed. And the shelter was the last place I wanted to be on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
It already took all of the strength I had to walk in there. I did not need to hear that on top of that.
Right.
And I will never forget that.
Yeah.
And there's a way that I think about it where it's like, okay, let's flip it around. From that woman's perspective, she sees a 21-year-old, greasy hair, dirty tank top, probably thinks I'm still hungover from the night before. I don't want these cats because I'm out partying and I just don't have time to care for them.
And she has a hard job. She works at a shelter that's
Right.
probably open intake. She sees animals come in and leave in body bags.
Right. That's not easy
She's
either.
hardened. She's in her burnout. She's in her compassion fatigue. And still, it's impacting you to
Right.
this day, 20
And
years later.
the thing of it is, let's say I was surrendering them because I wanted to go out and party and didn't want to take care of them. Aren't they better off in a place with resources?
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe I am a person that is desperate and doesn't want to lose these cats and I need help anyway, right? So like it kind of doesn't matter why I'm there.
Right. You arrived there for one reason or another, and you know what? Being euthanized kind of is better than starving to death.
Right. Or being beaten.
Yeah,
Or being mauled by your housemate.
absolutely.
Or suffering
Yeah,
and being in pain and being afraid
yeah.
all the time.
Or
If you have-
anxious.
if you have no quarter, no respite from that fear, pain, anxiety.
Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is to not make them suffer anymore.
Right.
This is a human world that we've built. We've built buildings and houses, and some people have yards and some people don't. And it's not a world that was designed with dogs in mind.
Right.
And so behavior euthanasia is becoming more common for whatever reason. I'm sure there's a million out there, but one of them is that we haven't designed this world for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that we should also then make them suffer through it. If they are genetically not a match for this world. If you are a storm-phobic dog born in Florida and your owners have no way to rehome you to another state to try something different, or the storm phobia is that bad, because as global warming takes over, it's starting to be that
There's going to be more Floridas.
Right. Florida's expanding in that way. So sometimes there's no escape. And sometimes, even if there is an escape, it's still okay to let them go.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I never have to worry about Kahlua killing another dog.
Yep.
Because I made the decision at the last dog fight that, well, before the last dog fight, I said the next dog fight is the last. And I wish I didn't have to have that marker.
Yeah.
But because of my mental state at the time and my lack of mental health support, I needed that marker. And you know what? The behavior supported me through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't say, you're not going to want to wait until after a dog fight. Well, she probably did say that to me. And I knew at that time that I couldn't. But that also gave me an out to say, hey, you don't have to wait.
Yeah.
I had spent 6 years managing her severe dog aggression. I had my own PTSD from hearing dog tags
Still.
because that was her trigger. And we have like a little memorial pond that people put tags on and the wind blows, and I get goosebumps
Yeah.
because I still am triggered about that. And that really affected me. And having someone say, oh, well, maybe she could just go to a farm with no animals.
Yeah.
And also, she doesn't want to live on a farm. She was a house pit bull.
Yeah.
She wasn't a farm dog.
And there are consequences to rehoming,
Yeah.
right? Like the perfect home isn't gonna come across tomorrow. So how long are you going to have to stay in this stasis
Yeah.
waiting for this unicorn home to come along.
And I think talking to people about that is really important when you're having these conversations.
Yeah.
And encouraging them to set a time limit. Not that it's a limit, but a time to check in.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we've tried to find a dog with no home, no kids, no dogs, no men, no trees, no sprinklers. And it's been 5 years and we haven't found that home yet. It's now time. Obviously, you would probably make it more like 6 months. But in reality, if people are doing it on their own, they're spending 5 years. Kahlua was up for adoption. She only became mine because I couldn't find an adopter for her.
Yeah.
And also, she wasn't actually adoptable because she would have killed someone's dog.
Yeah.
And I knew that.
Her on a walk or able to scale a fence.
She could go over a fence, under a fence before you could blink. She knew it all. It was, her arousal was so bad that whatever made that sound needed to stop immediately, and she was going to get there. She was like a rocket. She once cleared 4 yards by the time I even got from my living room to my back door.
Yeah.
And thankfully, they got their dog inside, and she was just at their back door yelling at them. Embarrassing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It was quite embarrassing, humiliating.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that when these people come in and they might give you an attitude because they are having a hard time too, things like this have happened to them several times.
Right. And that's the thing is like, you know, even someone who's being a dick probably has some kind of reason to be so, that drives their being miserable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and they're probably going to be defensive because they don't want to be where they are.
Yeah, no one wants to be where they are. But supporting them through that and listening to them and being there for them and validating all of their defensiveness and all of the things that they feel is how you support them. There was a graphic that the Dog Trainers Crucible shared during the Losing Lulu Summit 2026, and they called it the 3-4-5 model of behavior euthanasia. The Dog Trainers Crucible is run by the person that started Losing Lulu, which is the biggest support group for behavior euthanasia, Sue Alexander. And it is saying that when considering behavior euthanasia, we look at 3 causes, 4 contributing factors, and 5 alternatives. And they have found that that framework helped them consider the relevant aspects of it on a case-by-case basis. The 3 causes are genetics, early experience, and the current situation. Keep in mind, we can't change 2 of those things, and sometimes we can't change the current situation either. The 4 contributing factors are the welfare of the dog, the welfare of the family, the safety of the dog and the family, and the safety of the community.
I think that's so important because everyone needs to feel safe in their home.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
Especially children.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking about this human-made world that we live in, we have to prioritize the human children because they probably are going to be adults someday. Most likely.
Most likely. Statistically,
they are going to be adults someday. And dogs just don't live as long.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same impact in the community. They are kept sheltered and controlled by us. And so we have to take care of the community that is going to be around the longest, the most.
Yeah.
The 5 alternatives are begin or continue training. That requires resources,
money, time,
expertise,
yeah,
sometimes space,
yep,
sometimes equipment. You can refer them to a specialist, which also requires
money, time,
all of those same
yeah.
things, and proximity to said specialist, or internet connection,
yep,
a cell phone, a laptop. You could rehome the dog, which we know can be what's the word for legal?
It's a liability.
Yeah, a liability. And
I think that's the point that people don't understand is that if you rehome your dog and and or it's documented anywhere that dog has an aggression diagnosis and they go to their new home. Or has bitten. And they go to their new home and they do the exact same thing they were doing in your home and that person sues, that liability can come back on you.
If you rehome a dog that you don't expect to bite and that dog goes and bites in its new home, you can still be sued and receive legal issues from that. Rescues work usually under a clause with contracts that prevent those things, but even rescues have been sued for this sort of thing because their clauses and their contracts and their lawyers didn't protect them enough.
Yeah.
You could also live with the problem.
Yep.
Or behavior euthanasia. There's only 5 alternatives.
Yeah.
So there's really not much else, unfortunately.
Right. And I like the way that lays that out.
Yeah, it makes it easy to read for an owner and for a pet professional. I think there's a lot of difficulty and hesitance around bringing up behavior euthanasia to clients. But in my experience, and as has been described at the Losing Lulu Summit, bringing that up earlier is much better and helps relieve some of the pressure and tension for owners.
Yeah.
I think there is a stigma around euthanasia sometimes.
And they may assume that you won't be supportive.
Absolutely.
And so I find that sometimes I'll start the conversation just talking about quality of life.
Yep.
And asking if they've considered any alternate methods, like any alternate options, right? Like,
hi, I've noticed there's a quality of life issue here.
Yeah.
What have you tried? And what could we maybe put on the table?
Yeah. It's not an easy conversation to have. And sometimes you might lose that person because they're not ready to hear it.
And that's okay. That's part of it, is saying something, watching their body language, seeing how they respond, listening and digesting their response, and then continuing from there. Yeah. So if you feel like you're losing them after you say it, you can backpedal a little and say, listen, research shows bringing this up sooner rather than later can relieve pressure and help you know that you are not stuck in a hopeless situation.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you just talk about the other options that they want to do.
And I think, like, you have to be a little prepared for them to not be able to hear you in their emotional state.
Absolutely.
And you have to kind of be okay with that. I have a client that I emailed recently. This dog is not a good match for their household, and there some physical limitations. There are some emotional limitations. There are a number of things where this is just a mismatch. And I think in different home the dog could thrive. And she had mentioned in person that she doesn't give up on dogs. She would never rehome her. And so after we finished our sessions, she emailed me and, had said that she was still having the same problems and she was still struggling with the innate issues that are just a mismatch of, apples and oranges kind of going together. And I put in the email, hey, here's all the things we can do. If you had ever thought about rehoming her, right? I put that out there. If you'd ever thought about it, I think that could be a good option to explore, right? And she has not emailed me back. So I think that kind of didn't sit right with her, but I had to say it.
Yeah.
Because
someone has to.
It was something she needed to hear.
Yeah.
That, hey, sometimes we just don't get a good match.
Yeah.
And everybody does the thing where, especially like people that are just starting out in rescue, they'll go, well, I would live in my car with my dogs. I would never surrender them. And it's like,
you wouldn't.
You would until you get to the point where you're living in your...
Those people wouldn't because they have aggressive dogs at home.
Right. Like
I've been there. Yeah.
Right. Like
that's not realistic to live in your car with dogs.
We actually had somebody have to surrender his dogs because he did live in his car with his dogs and a huge fight broke out that required multiple surgeries and drains.
And it's hot in the summer.
Yeah.
It's cold in the winter. You can't.
That's not a good situation.
Yeah.
Right. So all this to say, sometimes they need to hear it, even if they don't want to, and sometimes you might lose them.
Yeah. And we also don't know, right? That person that you emailed, she could be pursuing some of the other things that you said in your email. She might be busy. She might be, it's actually, that part is not our business.
Right.
Unless she comes to us and says, hey, I didn't like that you said that.
Right.
And then we can repair that with her.
And you're right. And that's me telling myself a story.
Yeah.
That's me telling myself a story that she didn't like that, and that's why she didn't email me back. Maybe, as I was hitting send on the email, she did reach out to the rescue to reclaim the dog. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
And at least it's out there, so she knows that there's someone else
that's thinking
that is having these thoughts too.
Yeah.
Because guarantee you, she has already thought about that. And she probably thinks about that 12 times a day.
And I think my confirmation for saying she's already probably thought about it is that she brought it up in the protest too much way.
Yeah.
Where she said, we would never because we don't give up on dogs. And in the moment, I spent a little bit of time being like, well, yeah, I hear you. And you want to do what's right by her.
Let's define giving up.
Yeah, and that's the thing, not to bring this back to another client, but I have another client that is actually, their dog is eligible for rehoming. Their issue was that they brought a dog into the home and their cats are having severe health issues because they brought this dog home, and the dog has no behavioral issues. So he's really not a dog that we would think about euthanizing. But even them in this situation where clearly it was a mismatch, they were a husband and wife couple were going to live separately so that they could maintain both the cats and the dogs.
A puppy.
And
they were going to do this for 12 years, they thought.
And I had to be like, whoa, let's pump the brakes.
The world is already hard as it is. You don't need to be separate from your chosen life partner.
Yeah.
Because the cats didn't tell you that they wouldn't want a puppy.
Right. And after they had a chance to process their emotions, and we had several long talks about it and many a box of tissues, they decided not to separate. An otherwise amicable, loving relationship, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like they had no problems with one another. But they decided to return him to the rescue. And, they did all the things, right? But when they first came to me, the thing that I said to them that I think needs to be said to people in these positions is, I'm going to give you some advice, right? If that's what they're looking for. If that's the stage that they're at, where they're will I, won't I, right? Because that's where they came to me. They weren't saying, hey, we're definitely going to rehome him. And I said, well, actually, right? Like, we're not actualing people that are at these point. They said, we don't know what to do. And I said, I'm going to give you 3 things to work on. But please know that if you walk out the door and you never try any of the 3 things, if you never try them and you just decide we can't do this anymore, that is valid.
Absolutely.
You do not have to try every strategy on the planet that every person comes up with for you to make this decision.
You can only do what you can do.
And sometimes that might not look like another person's enough.
Yeah.
But guess what? You're not that other person.
Some people can only reach these decisions after they've seen a trainer and a veterinary behaviorist and tried meds and done behavior modification. That takes thousands of dollars.
It does.
That takes thousands of hours.
Yeah.
That takes thousands of days. Some people can't do that.
They can't wait that long.
Their plate is already full. They got a pet for companionship, and they did not sign up to have another plate stacked on top of their plate that is also full. And that's okay too.
And we've had people come to see the behaviorists we work with, and at that first appointment, look for permission to say, you've done enough.
Yeah.
Right? And I just wonder if there was more support for them along the way, they wouldn't have had to have spent a couple $100.
Yeah, for us who they don't know, but we've bonded because we validated them to euthanize their dog.
Right.
Like, I want these people to be able to go to their primary care vet, who they've had their last 4 pets with, who they've been seeing since they were 5 with their parents, to have that experience with that vet. They don't know me. I just know how they feel.
Yeah.
And this is also why these are not, like, we don't get into these jobs because we only like animals. We also get into them. We have to get into them because there's people attached.
Yeah.
I think coping with being someone who's recommending behavior euthanasia can be hard, because you know that as soon as those words, or even rehoming, leave your lips, that it feels like you're putting a black cloud over the owner.
Yeah.
But you also can give them an umbrella at the same time, because that black cloud was already over them. You just didn't see it until you said those words.
Yeah.
And giving the umbrella of, here's an out you can take. Here are some suggestions of trainers you can contact. This is going to be a lifelong problem.
Yeah.
That might get a little bit better, but once a dog has learned to bite, they are more likely to reach for biting in the future.
Because it worked.
And
it kept them relatively safe.
We have to let owners know that they might do everything and still end up here.
Yeah.
And we will still be there for them.
Yeah. We're facing that with a case right now that had a bite incident, knew biting was a risk, had a bite incident, and put, I think we probably put behavior euthanasia on the table.
Yeah.
And they were considering it, and they have declined that option for now, and they would like to move forward with training, which we will support them through, right? Training and some modification visits and things like that. And we're going to support them through that. But I think the thing that we need to make very clear is that none of this will ever give you the 100% money back guarantee that he won't bite again.
Right.
All we can do is mitigate and manage and hope that we get everything right all the time so that this dog is a longer fuse and does not reach for aggression quite as quickly.
It can also help them feel less guilty when there are breaks in management, because we're humans and humans make mistakes, and dogs are dogs and dogs make mistakes too. And if they already know, if you've warned them, listen, just like adolescence is going to come and bite you in the ass for 6 to 18 months, management is going to fail at some point.
Yep.
And if you decide that euthanasia is the right choice after management fails, that is not because you failed.
Right.
That is because we are human and no one is perfect.
Right. So I think our tips for this episode are going to be a lot of resources.
Yeah.
That you can reach for. Obviously, I mean, you're going to choose compassion over judgment when dealing with behavioral euthanasia discussions. You're going to go into those discussions. I like to do them face-to-face personally because then I can kind of read the other person's body language. That way I have a better read on the situation than, like, you know, sending an email. Have you ever thought about rehoming your puppy? Because you can't, I don't know, tone's just not that great in an email. I think offering them support and offering them resources like a veterinary social worker, like Losing Lulu. Losing Lulu is one of those resources that is so hard, but so necessary. It gives perspective, it gives community, and it gives a sense of you aren't the only person on the planet that this is happening to.
Yeah.
You are not some isolated incident. This happens to other people. No one talks about it.
Yep. There is a course available for purchase on the Dog Trainer's Crucible. It's $80. That can help owners walk through approaching whether behavior euthanasia might be for them.
Yeah.
If you can't get to or don't want to get to a behaviorist, if you don't have the time, the ability, the space, the personnel, whatever, to support them in hospital, or maybe you've come across a friend who's considering this decision, I feel like that course is a good spot for people to land so that you can help support them in a way that's organized, has the information, has literature and data for them to fall back on, and help support them emotionally through it, because it's a very unique experience.
Yeah. The episode that follows this one is going to be a resource as well. It is going to be completely client focused, so you can share that with
Absolutely.
clients instead of having to go through it yourself, right? Maybe you're not comfortable with that discussion yet, or you don't know them well enough.
Maybe you don't know what to say.
Right. You can just let us do the talking. We're talking anyway.
We'll just be yapping on there.
We sure do be yapping.
If you want to learn more about the decision making, whether it be for clients or in a shelter, or if you want to learn more about veterinary social work related to behavior euthanasia, or death doula services, or other like end of life services for owners, there is a lot of good presentations in the Losing Lulu Summit 2026. They have a 3-year pass. Seems like this was the first one. Seems like maybe they're going to be doing it every 3 years or something. And it will be available to purchase until November 2026. Okay. So you can get that 3-year pass anytime until November for any of those things. There is a lot of really good presentations about shelters and behavior euthanasia, which we talked on a lot less about because that is much more nuanced.
Yeah.
And really depends on the location, the resources. That's a whole other beast. But there's a lot of presentations on there about that, especially about like aftercare, memorializing, how to get through the grief, and that sort of thing.
And presentations about how to explore this topic with children.
Yes.
Which that presentation, when you were telling me about that, that was so interesting about like children from this age to this age need this coping skill.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah, I forgot that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I almost forgot that part. Yeah, that was one of the best ones.
Yeah. It was so good.
Specifically about behavior euthanasia.
Yeah. And like, you know, I mean, talking to other adults is hard, but talking to children's hard too.
It sure is. Especially children that you don't know.
Yeah.
So if that's a place where you would like to be, check out that check out that lecture.
Yeah.
Somewhere within Losing Lulu, there is a resource document of veterinary social workers. I just have to get permission for us to share it. But also, if you email us, I'll share it without permission. But I'm going to get permission for us to post it online. I just want to make sure that they were expecting that when they posted it. And it wasn't something only for Losing Lulu. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see you on the next round when we talk about, when we talk to owners about approaching, deciding, and getting through behavior euthanasia.
Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Take care of yourself.
Drink some water.
Take a nap.
Oh yeah, take a nap. Do some stretches.
Touch grass.
Touch grass. Eat grass.
Sure, no one's stopping you.
No one's stopping you.
The end. Talk Dogs With Us is an informational podcast and not a substitute for qualified medical advice.
Are you a pet professional or parent looking to learn more and challenge your current assumption about our pets? Then let's go on this journey together at our website, talkdogswithus.com. Give us a bark at Facebook and Instagram at Talk Dogs With Us. You can help keep the conversation going by subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/talkdogswithus, or buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/talkdogswithus. Art direction by Alex Oren, theme song and audio engineering by Stephen Rossblock. Check out more from him at stephenrossblock.com. Thanks for listening.